5 months ago, I started treatment for recurrent prostate cancer. I started with an ADT, which is Orgovyx, to reduce testosterone. 3 months ago, I started radiation treatment, 37 sessions. And now it's 5 months later, and it's all over, all done. And today you're going to hear all about it.
This podcast deals with prostate cancer, surgery, medication, and other medical topics. The host is a prostate cancer survivor who is recounting his experience with treatment. He is not a medical professional, and you should not use his commentary as medical advice. Please always consult a medical professional when learning about and understanding prostate cancer or any other disease.
Well, here we are. The journey continues on Mark's prostate cancer experience. For those of you who have been following my podcast on my YouTube channel, in 2015, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer and I had a prostatectomy. My prostate was removed, and I had about 5 great years of worry-free PSA testing every 3 months, undetectable. But then my PSA started to rise a little bit, and it got to a point where I hit 0.2, then 0.3, then 0.4. So this was the year, 2024, almost 9 years later, that I decided to have a follow-up treatment via radiation. So I went through 5 months of therapy. It started with Orgovyx, or some of you will take Lupron. What happens is before you get radiation, they want to reduce the testosterone in your body to almost nothing. And the rationale there is if the testosterone is reduced, the prostate cancer cells don't have a fuel source. Therefore, when they radiate, the cells will be a lot more receptive to the radiation. So that's the thinking. A lot of evidence shows that, but interestingly enough, they've never actually proven it, but it is something that, to err on the side of caution, we did. And then after radiation, for another month and a half to 2 months, most men will continue on the ADT just to counter the effects of ongoing radiation treatment. So when you get radiation, the radiation lingers for a while, and it doesn't actually kill the cells. It inhibits their ability to reproduce. So when radiation's over, you still have a little bit of a lag period, and that's why you stay on the Orgovyx. So today is actually a very monumental day, and when you're listening or watching this, I'm not exactly sure what the date will be. It might be in the future a little bit, but today is 5 months to the day where I started taking my ADT. And this is what I was taking. This is called Orgovyx. Get on the camera there. Okay, and it's a pill form, and the way it works is it stops the body's ability to create testosterone. There are 2 main methods. Lupron is one. Lupron is a shot you get, and you get it for about a 3-month dose, and then you get another dose. But Orgovyx works differently in that you take a pill every single day. So today is the very last one, hopefully, I'll ever take in my life. And the nice thing about Orgovyx is the moment you stop taking it, your body starts recovering and producing testosterone. It's a very, very quick recovery. When you take Lupron, even after the shot is worn off, it can take many months. It can even take up to a year for some people for your body to start getting back into its full testosterone condition. So the name of the game now is to get my mojo back, to get my testosterone back. But anyway, I'll talk about that in just a little bit. I wanted to really share this whole experience with recurrence and radiation. I've published a number of videos and podcasts on that, but now that I'm at the very end of it, I can give you kind of a good summary of what it was like in the beginning, during radiation, and of course, the after effects and what they're like. But before I do that, I want to play a couple of quick videos for you. I wanted you to see what the proton radiation machine looks like and the center. So let's have a little, I had my technician hold the camera and shoot this. So let's have a quick peek at the machine itself. So here we are. This is the famous, infamous proton radiation machine. This is called Creekside. They all have different names. And the way this works is I lie down here, and that's the radiation right there. And they spin it around me in different directions to kind of target the different areas. But it is so high tech, it looks like something out of Star Wars. And this is what cures cancer, folks. So don't be afraid of it. It's your new friend. And if you have any questions, ask me, because I have many of the answers, I think. So, all right, that's awesome. That's really impressive, isn't it? That is what we call high tech. The machine itself, let me see if I can kind of capture a still here. But the way it works is the whole room spins. So you lie in that table, and it looks like something. This reminds me of something from 2001 Space Odyssey. But you'll see where I'm standing now, that little blue white thing, that's the radiation device. And that actually circles around you as you lie on the table. So it's pretty cool, and I would dare say it saved my life. But I have one more video to show you. Whenever you complete treatment for cancer, whether it's radiation or otherwise, there is a tradition where you ring a bell 3 times. Any of you that have gone through it have seen this or experienced it, but I was able to record my last day of radiation, which was quite bittersweet. In one sense, I believed at that point I am finally done with the disease, but you get very attached to the people who are helping you and treating you. So anyway, here's sort of my day. You notice for those of you that are Tennessee Vols fans, I live in North Carolina and Florida, but for the whole time that I was there, I became a Tennessean. So this is from Knoxville, and you'll notice the T-shirt. But let's watch this, because this is a great moment in my life.
You ready? All right, Mark, congratulations to you. We are truly thankful that you found us here at the Proton Center. And on behalf of Dr. Grover and our president, Ben DeVore, you are graduate number 4,821.
That's amazing. I can't tell you guys how amazing this is. 4,827 people potentially cured from cancer, because you all are in the business of curing cancer. I have to say, this center, and whoever thought that here in an hour from Dollywood in the foothills of the Great Smokies is one of the best radiation treatment centers in the country, if not the world. And I'm so grateful and honored to be a part of this, and for this to be the end of my journey with cancer, and I'll take it any day. So you guys have really humanized the whole process in words that I can't express. And as you can see, I'm now an honorary Tennessean. I'm a Vols fan now. Now, when I get back to North Carolina, they'll probably have some harsh words for me, but I don't care, because I love you guys. So with that, with 3 rings, this is the end of my journey with cancer, and a new beginning with all of you as friends forever and family, and that's everything. So here we go. Yeah, so that certainly is a day that I'll never forget. And for any of you who have gone through radiation, you also will understand the joy of that time and that feeling. So let me step back 5 months and start at the beginning. I'm not going to cover the circumstances that led me up to deciding to have radiation. I've explained that in the past, but basically I hit a PSA level of 0.4, and that was it for me. So the process started, as many of you will know, when you start radiation treatment, they are going to recommend about 2 months before you start radiation, you get on an ADT. And that's either going to be Lupron, which is the shot, or once again, Orgovyx, which is the pill. And I opted to go with Orgovyx. I started 6 weeks, not 2 months before radiation. I started at 6 weeks, mainly because my recurrence was very low grade and certainly not aggressive. We had determined through PSMA it hadn't spread. So the idea was to, have at least enough time so the Orgovyx would kick in. And about 3 weeks after I started taking Orgovyx, I did have my PSA and my testosterone levels checked, and my PSA was 0 and my testosterone was 20. So these little babies here, they worked very quickly, and I probably could have got away with starting 4 weeks before instead of the whole time that I did. But anyway, those of you that go on an ADT will see a slew of side effects. In some cases, I really, really had it good this whole time. I got hot flashes or flushes, whatever they're called, But as far as everything else, moodiness and problem sleeping and weight gain, I'll talk about that in a few minutes as well. But for the most part, from the time I started taking the ADT to the time I started radiation, there was really no change in lifestyle. Maybe a little more tired than usual, but I think the key, and a lot of you gave me these recommendations, as did my physicians, is you have to exercise at least 3 days a week for an hour, really rigorous weight training exercise. Cardio is also okay, but you really want to train with weights because your body is depleted of testosterone. And somehow by doing weights, your muscles can react and build themselves and really offset a lot of the bad things that could happen when you get on an ADT. So I started radiation, and for all 37 sessions, there really was no side effects to speak of. A lot of men that I spoke to with radiation, they have concerns, or they've reported fatigue and all types of burning sensation and this sort of thing. Towards the end of it, I would say I got a little more tired than usual. I could certainly feel that there was something happening inside. It was very minor, but there was some minor irritation with your bladder that really happens about halfway through or towards the end. For those of you that have had surgery, if you remember having those bladder spasms after surgery, and there was a medication they would give for that, but there's something that feels similar to that, not as severe as after surgery, but there definitely was some bladder reaction. And a lot of your internal organs are being rated. Your bladder, your rectum, your stomach certainly feels a little bit. But anyway, so it's nothing that you can't tolerate. There is something called AZO, letters A, letter Z, letter O, or Z for those of you in Canada and elsewhere. And it's just a concentrated cranberry pill. And it seems to really, really help with any of that discomfort you might find in your bladder. But other than that, by the 37th day, I finished that session and it was business as usual. The only thing that was a little odd for me was that, as I mentioned, I was getting radiation in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is where the Proton Center was. And I don't live in Knoxville, so I would commute every Monday and Friday back and forth. So I was away from home for quite a bit of the summer, but you got to do what you got to do. So now I am 6 weeks after radiation. So 6 weeks ago, I finished. I've been on Orgovyx ever since. Life has been fine, but I'm really celebrating that today is my last pill. And from tomorrow onwards, I can get my libido back. I can have a little more weight control. So let me talk about these side effects, because ironically enough, since starting in Orgovyx and through the end of radiation, which in itself was about 4.5 months, I didn't have any weight gain. I didn't have problems urinating. It was none of that. But as the weeks after radiation passed, so for the first 4 weeks, now I'm 6 weeks later, but the first 4 weeks, I did start putting on weight. And it was a mystery to me because I kept my routine the same, but somehow I started getting a little more belly weight. And what I attribute that to is the long-term effects of depleting testosterone. I thought once your body is depleted, everything starts to right away, but it seems to take a while, even a few months, before your body starts reconditioning itself. So when you don't have testosterone, it's a lot easier to put on weight, especially belly weight. And so that's what I think has been happening. So I couldn't pick a better time to get rid of the ADT than now, because from tomorrow onwards, I am absolutely going to focus on getting my body back to where it was before starting it in the first place. And that's a thinner physique, a lot of energy, libido, quite interestingly enough. Everybody talks about this, and it's true. Probably about a few weeks into Orgovyx and probably about a month into Lupron, maybe sooner, you just lose all interest in sex completely. And a lot of gentlemen have complained to me that while they're on this, they don't look at women, they don't think of women. Their wives are certainly noticing, and that kind of is true. really change as a person, but those of us that always have had a very strong desire in sex and in thinking of sex, it tends to go away, but it's temporary, which is certainly something I am looking forward to having removed. Even though libido is pretty much eliminated, what I found is I could, if I really tried hard, I could stimulate myself into orgasm and erection just like it was before the Orgovix. So I had a concern that maybe being on the ADT, you would lose sexual function, and you don't. You just really have to coax yourself into thinking about it and into performing and reacting. And for me, it worked fine. I'd maybe say it was 80% of where it was, but it is very temporary. And my understanding is as soon as my testosterone starts recovering, which will be right away, then all that natural ability will return. Another thing I was worried about, it seems that when you are depleted of testosterone for a long term, not 6 months, but a year, maybe 2 years, I don't know what the time frame is, you start to get man boobs, and they're permanent. It doesn't reverse itself. So I was very aware of that and kind of checking myself out a lot just to make sure what's happening. I don't think my boobs got any bigger, and I try to work chest all the time in gym, but I'm really pleased to report that I'm finishing this whole process. If you're going to be on an ADT for long term, they will give you a medication that will block estrogen production. I think that takes care of it. And in the worst case, if you slip and you get boobs, there is surgery that fixes it, but I don't want to kind of get into all that. That's just, let's do this, I guess, the natural way. So my journey continues, and this is an ongoing experience. When I started my YouTube channel in 2015, so long ago, and actually November 9th, 2015 is when I had surgery. So we're coming up to my 9-year anniversary. I never realized that the experience would be an ongoing experience. I thought surgery would end it for good. And for many men, it does. For many men, surgery eradicates prostate cancer and it never comes back. But for a certain number, I think it's 30%. Maybe it's higher, but I think 30% is accurate. We will have a second round of prostate cancer. The good news is when you detect it early, it's early enough that it can be eradicated very quickly and very easily. So the chances are that the radiation treatment that I just went through have eradicated it for good. There's still a small chance that it hasn't worked. So we will deal with that. So maybe if there's a part 3 of this, then I guess my channel and podcast will go on till the end of time or the end of me, whichever comes first. But regardless, my takeaway to all of you that are going through an initial round of prostate cancer or a recurrence of prostate cancer is try to keep your spirits up as much as possible. If you find treatment early enough, you will not die from this disease. There are so many techniques, so many methods, so much medication, the science of surgery. There is so much out there that will really help you eliminate this or live with it. There are some of you that will have advanced prostate cancer, so you'll live with it, and maybe it's hard to eradicate, but they will be able to treat it so that you have a very, very good and effective lifestyle. And of course, AI and quantum computing, these are all things that are emerging. I believe within the next 5 years, if not sooner, I think prostate cancer will be something that they can pinpoint with great accuracy. I do believe prostatectomies, the removal of the prostate, will be a thing of the past within just a couple of years because of the way they'll be able to detect and treat it. And I think what's going to happen is quantum computers and very advanced imaging will be able to start to find prostate cancer at a very microscopic level and effectively just keep zapping it with, lasers or radiation, whatever it may be. But I think they'll be able to take a whack-a-mole approach to it that will give you a full and long life so you can keep your prostate and not worry about all the side effects. The unfortunate thing is for those of us that had to learn of the disease before all these future techniques are in place, we had to take the hard path and just yank out that prostate and live as good a life as possible. And for me, to be quite honest, I've lived a very, very good life, and I plan to live many more years. I have love in my life. I have family. I realize not everyone is in that situation, but I made the concerted effort to not let this get the better of me. The second I was diagnosed, way back then, I said, we're going to fight this. We're going to beat this. I'm a real fighter. So my battle was with the disease and not with myself and not with others. There was no blame to be placed here. This is just something I had to deal with. And assuming I surrounded myself with good doctors and good advice is something I dealt with and continue to deal with. So that's my story. And I'm very happy to be here today. I am back in my studio. I'm very happy to be here. And I will, depending on timing and other things, because I have a lot going on professionally now, I'm going to try to, keep this series alive. I promised everybody I would try to start doing some interviewing with doctors and specialists. So I'll try to get that done. I can't promise anything, at least at the end of 2024. Maybe it'll be my New Year's resolution to really step up my podcast game a little bit. The most important thing is I want to be able to help and advise as many of you as possible. Even though I'm not a doctor, having gone through pretty much everything you can with early stages of this disease, I wanted to be able to tell you my experience. We're all going to have a different experience. Some of you will have not as good of a time, but through it all, as long as you can keep your spirits up and really understand that this is something you can defeat, then you should be just fine. So with that, I'm going to say a good day to everybody out there, as they say in TV land or in podcast land. This is Mark. I really, really am thrilled that those of you that are tuning in continue to leave comments. I will try to answer as many as I can. But for now, I will bid you goodbye and stay alive.